This is peasant food, Art. It's worthless." The words, sharp and cold as the November wind whipping outside, cut through the warm, yeasty air of Kowalski's hearth. Kevin Chen, the new 28-year-old manager, held up a loaf of Arthur Kowalski's signature dark rye. He didn't hold it with reverence, but like it was something foul he'd found on his shoe. In front of a line of morning customers, he strode to the bin and, with a dramatic flourish, scraped the entire tray of perfectly baked, still warm bread into the trash. The loaves landed with a soft, heartbreaking thud. For 45 years, Arthur's hands, gnarled and powerful from a lifetime of kneading, had performed the same sacred ritual in this very spot in Cleveland's Slavic village. He wasn't just the baker, he was the keeper of a legacy. The smell of his bread was the smell of home for 3 generations. It was the taste of their Polish grandmother's kitchens, a tangible link to a world they'd left behind. Before Kevin, this bakery was more than a business. It was the heart of the community, a place where the air was thick with the scent of caraway and memory. People didn't just buy bread, they came for a piece of their history, served warm by a man who knew their names and their parents' names. But the family who owned the bakery had sold to a corporation, and the corporation sent Kevin, a man armed with an MBA and a belief that tradition was just another word for inefficiency. He saw spreadsheets, not soul. He wanted to rebrand, to pivot towards avocado toast and charcoal-infused sourdough. He saw Art's rye bread, with its dense crumb and earthy flavor, not as a masterpiece of old-world craft, but as an unprofitable relic. The humiliation was absolute. It wasn't just bread in that bin. It was Art's life, his identity, his dignity, discarded as worthless. The weeks that followed were a slow, grinding torture. Art was demoted from master baker to a glorified prep assistant.
His sacred rye was replaced by recipes Kevin downloaded from trendy food blogs. The instructions were clinical, precise, demanding ingredients that felt alien in Art's hands. Chia seeds, quinoa flour, agave nectar. The new loaves were beautiful, but hollow. They were designed for Instagram photos, not for nourishing a family. The old wood and brick of the bakery were covered with sterile white tile and minimalist signage. The soul of the place was being systematically erased. The old customers, his friends, trickled away. They'd come in, look at the unfamiliar, overpriced offerings, give Art a sad, sympathetic glance, and walk out. Art felt himself becoming a ghost in his own sanctuary. The greatest pain was his feeling of uselessness. His hands, which could read the mood of a dough by touch alone, which knew the precise moment to pull a loaf from the heat by scent and sound, were now tasked with weighing out goji berries. He was a master craftsman forced to assemble flat-pack furniture. Kevin, meanwhile, was praised by corporate for his bold modernization, his sales figures boosted by a temporary influx of younger, trend-chasing customers. Then, in the heart of January, the sky turned a malevolent gray and unleashed a blizzard of historic proportions. An ice storm first, coating every power line in a thick, heavy sheath, followed by 2 feet of snow. The city ground to a halt. And then, one by one, the transformers blew. Cleveland was plunged into a deep, frigid darkness. The power grid was down, and officials said it could be days, maybe a week, before it was restored. At the bakery, the silence was deafening. The digital ovens were dead, the mixers were useless, the refrigerators were slowly warming. Kevin was in a full-blown panic, his phone a useless brick as he tried to reach corporate. The bakery was filled with expensive, useless ingredients that would soon spoil. The neighborhood was trapped, cold, and hungry. The crisis was immediate and absolute.
It was then that Art walked past the frantic manager and into the cold, dark storage room at the back. There, silent and immense, stood the one thing he had fought to save when Kevin wanted to demolish it for more storage space: the old wood-fired brick oven. A behemoth from another century, it needed no electricity, only wood,
fire and a master's touch. It was, in Kevin's words, a dirty, obsolete relic. Art didn't say a word. He simply began to work. With a practiced economy of motion, he split the dry oak he kept stacked in the alley. He laid the kindling, and soon a warm, crackling glow pushed back the oppressive darkness. The fire was a living thing, and Art understood its language. While Kevin paced and despaired, Art moved with a quiet, powerful grace. He found the bulk sacks of simple flour, the salt, the yeast, the holy trinity of his craft. In the flickering firelight, his hands came alive. He worked by feel, the muscle memory of 45 years guiding him. He didn't need scales or timers. He knew the weight of flour in a scoop, the feel of properly hydrated dough, the smell of yeast activating. The rhythmic thud of his kneading was a steady heartbeat in the silent building. It was a defiant sound, an answer to the storm and to the man who had called him obsolete. The first wave of heat rolling from the oven's mouth was like a collective sigh of relief. The smell that soon filled the air, of wood smoke, of caramelizing crust, of life-giving bread, was more powerful than any branding. It was the smell of hope. It drifted out into the snow-covered street, a beacon in the cold. And the people came. They emerged from their dark, cold homes, drawn by the primal, comforting scent. A line formed, neighbors huddled together, their breath pluming in the frigid air. Art, his face illuminated by the fire's glow, pulled loaf after perfect loaf from the oven's heart with a long wooden peel. He wasn't making trendy bread. He was making real bread.
It was food that warmed the belly and the soul. He handed them out, refusing any money. This was not a transaction. This was community. This was what he was born to do. Kevin stood in the corner, invisible, watching the entire scene unfold. He saw the reverence in people's eyes as they took a loaf from Art. He saw the old baker, not as a relic, but as a hero, a vital center around which the entire neighborhood was now revolving. A neighbor handed Kevin a piece torn from a fresh loaf. It was warm, the crust crackled, the inside was soft and airy. He took a bite. The flavor was simple, profound, and overwhelmingly delicious. It tasted of integrity. And in that moment, the spreadsheets, the buzzwords, the entire shallow philosophy he had built his career on crumbled into dust. He had been so wrong. Days later, when the power was restored and the city was slowly returning to life, Kevin found Art, before the morning shift, quietly sweeping the floor. The younger man's usual arrogance was gone, replaced by a deep, painful humility. "Art," he began, his voice quiet. "I'm sorry. Not just for the rye bread. For everything. I was an idiot. I saw numbers, not people. I didn't understand." Art stopped sweeping and looked at him. He didn't offer easy forgiveness, just a steady, patient gaze. "I want to learn," Kevin said, his voice cracking slightly. "I mean, really learn. If you'll teach me." Art looked at Kevin's soft, clean hands, then down at his own, covered in the faint white dust that never truly washed away. He nodded slowly, a single, decisive gesture. He picked up a lump of dough and placed it on the floured wooden bench. "The story of the bread," said Art, his voice a low rumble, "is in the hands. Watch." In our relentless search for the new, we often discard the timeless. We mistake progress for wisdom and trends for truth.
But sometimes, when the modern world fails us, we are reminded that true value lies not in what is new and shiny, but in the enduring skills and quiet dignity passed down through generations. It's a lesson baked into every loaf of honest bread. If this story resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that celebrate the human spirit. Thank you for listening, and take care.